Has the president had any medical exams since his last annual physical in February?
We're able to talk to his doctor about that, and that is a no.
He hasn't had any kind of medical exam?
No.
That is a no. He hasn't had any kind of medical exam, any kind.
It is public.
I hear you, guys.
Unless the White House answers the
hold on a
question.
second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What are you missed about?
So the Oversight Committee is concerned that your medical assessments, oh no, might have been influenced by your private business endeavors with the Biden crime family. The media explodes at Karine Jean-Pierre for her lies over Biden's neurological problems, and now Congress wants to speak with the doctor as well. So James Comer and others sent this letter saying, hey, why don't you come down and have a sit-down transcribed interview with us so that we can ask you about Joe Biden's dementia. But before we get into this explosion that took place in the White House press briefing room today, let's remind ourselves about the lie, because boy, was it a whopper. You remember after the debate, there was a lot of conversation about whether Karine and whether Joe had him see a doctor. And turns out that there was a bunch of back and forth on this. So Karine said that there absolutely unequivocally was not a doctor's meeting after the debate. This came over from MJ Lee, CNN senior White House correspondent. She says the White House spokesperson, Andrew Bates, so she called, confirms Biden was examined by his doctor in the days following last week's debate. They wanted to check on his cold, see how he's doing. So she asked Karine, this was last week, yesterday, if Biden had gotten a medical exam. She said no specifically. She was busted on this because Andrew Bates confirmed right after the fact that he did. Now the media this week, they just laced into her, how dare you lie to us? What happened here? And she's going to respond to this in a moment, but here's the background.
I just wanted to clarify one thing. I know you got a lot of questions about this issue yesterday. Has the president had any medical exams since his last annual physical in February?
We're able to talk to his doctor about that, and that is a no.
He hasn't had any kind of medical exam?
No.
That is a no. He hasn't had any kind of medical exam, any kind. You heard her say that 3 times. I just played it. Well, it turns out he did, and she confirmed that. She called the doctor. Eli Stokel's also pointed this one out. It says when asked by a governor whether POTUS asked how he's feeling, he says, you know, I'm fine. I just got a checkup too, and I'm fine. 3 people familiar with knowledge of the meeting said Joe Biden talked to a doctor. Now, he had a brief exam days after the debate because of his cold. So Karine just flat out lied through her teeth about that. We also know that there was a Parkinson's expert that has visited the White House about 8 times over the last 8 months. Why would that be if the president didn't have Parkinson's? The White House said President Biden had met with a neurologist over 3 times in more than 3 years in office, but not true. But it would not say whether the visiting expert was consulting with the president's physician about his health. So this dude just keeps coming in. An expert on Parkinson's from Walter Reed Military visited the White House 8 times in 8 months from last summer through the spring. Oh no. Including at least once for a meeting with Joe Biden's physician that Congress wants to talk to now, according to official logs. The guy's name is Dr. Kevin Kennard. He's a neurologist who specializes in movement disorders. The logs, which were released by the White House, show visits from July 23 to March of this year. More recent visits, if any, would not be released until they have to. Now, it's unclear whether Dr. Kennard was at the White House to talk with Joe or other people. He says that he's been supporting the White House medical unit on his LinkedIn page for more than 12 years. And his biography, okay, so this is some actual journalism, right? They went and looked this dude up. Okay, so what does he say about it? He was a neurology consultant to the White House medical unit and the physician to the president from 2012 to 2022, which is when Obama was in charge. So they show when Biden was vice president, Dr. Kennard made at least 10 visits plus a family tour when he was vice president. So maybe he's just there for other policy reasons. Now, he did not respond to requests for comments. The White House would not comment on the purpose of this. A wide variety of specialists come to our office all the time. We have regular visits with doctors all the time. It's the White House, man. What do you think? So here's the president and his doctor, and they released a 6-page letter. They say, Joe Biden's great. No findings at all would be consistent with Parkinson's, and so he's just doing an outstanding job. Now, Karine got asked about this, man. This is just brutal. So the media wasn't having it at all. Why did you lie to us? We asked you specifically, did he have any medical appointments? You said no. We said, any at all? You said no. So what gives, Karine?
2 quick ones. There's been a lot of reporting in the last 24 hours about a Parkinson's expert who's come to visit the White House almost a dozen times times over the last year or so. Could you state very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The President has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist. And just to give you a quote from the report most recently in February, an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring in that there were no findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorder such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis, end quote. So that came directly from in February in that comprehensive report that was provided by the President's doctor to me that I share with all of you. So anyone who is watching can certainly go to our website.
Question, which was this expert's visits, there was multiple visits to the White House pertaining at all to the President's care.
Well, here's the thing. I said he has had 3 physicals. In those 3 physicals, that's when he has seen specialists, neurological specialists. I have to be super mindful here, and this is why, and I'll explain this to you in a second. There are thousands of military personnel who come onto this White House. Many of them get the care from the White House medical unit, and so need to be super careful. There are, the medical unit hosts a wide range of specialists, from dermatologists to a neurologist, and so I cannot speak to every person because there's actually a security reasons to protect their privacy. We respect and protecting people's privacy, so I'm not going to share people's names from here.
Right now. I can't tell
but
you
the President, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all. Okay. So every year around the President's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? Every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're asking me. I also said to you, Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names. We have to.
Others he would have met with. You can share names in regards to if someone came here in regards to the President.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to. I understand that. I hear you.
Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
The doctor.
We have to.
I think he's putting it on his bio that he goes and hangs out with the President.
Keep their privacy.
It is public.
I hear you, guys. Guys, hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth with me in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What are you missed about?
Everything he just asked about.
Every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it up.
I never answered the question.
Ooh, you leave, you give us an answer, you leave, then you have to come back a couple days later and clean it up, is what he said to her, which is exactly right.
Correctly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam. And I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the President still stands by that.
No, he doesn't. Actually, Andrew Bates just confirmed to the other CNN lady that he did talk to his doctor.
He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the President has a couple times a week.
Now, in regards to
a verbal check-in with your neurologist a couple times a week, a couple times with your doctor.
Dr. Kevin Kennard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not sharing, confirming names from here. It is a security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me.
Why are you mad though,
I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the President has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. And it is in the reporting that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to devolve somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to.
Okay, Karine, keep the stupid name to yourself, okay? But the fact is, our president's demented. We all know it. So here's John Kirby. He came out at the same press conference and he says, Joe Biden's great. He's doing a great job. What are you guys nuts? I love the guy. He's vigorous. He's doing backflips over my head all the time.
Questions on the fallout from the debate. Have you, in your meetings with him, ever seen him
Demented.
appear similarly to the way he did on debate night?
Look, I'm a spokesman,
And you're in a lot of meetings with him.
I am.
A lot of meetings.
The last thing I'm going to do is sit here and talk about every meeting I've had with the president. What I can tell you is what I saw in that debate is not reflective of the man and the leader and the commander-in-chief that I have spent many, many hours with over the last 2.5 years in terms of the specificity of the way he probes, the questions he asks. Heck, just this morning, he was asking me questions about the situation on the European continent that I couldn't answer, and I told him I had to get back to it.
Is that because you couldn't understand what he was saying? Did you have to get the transcripts? No, he asked me tons of questions. I can't even answer it. Is he asking about real countries or fake countries? Why couldn't you answer it, John?
When he met with governors last week, he suggested he'd like to curtail events that begin after 8 p.m. at night just because he'd rather focus on resting and doesn't want to have a long day. In your understanding of things, has the National Security Council ever withheld information from him he should have known late at night out of concern he might not be able to process it?
No.
All right, so that's it. Sorry, Ed. But Congress wants to look into this. They've got some questions for this doctor who is in charge of our demented president. So Congress sent this one over to the Biden White House physician. From the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, right over to Joe Biden's doctor, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, physician to the White House. The judiciary sent this one. They said, all right, doctor, listen, here's the deal. We got to figure out what's going on in that brain of his. After a concerning debate to performance, are there IQ points still in there? Journalists have rushed to report on what has been plainly for years, which we've seen here for years. The president appears unwell. They give us all the posts. They say, Joe moves slowly, speaks softly. He's got moments where he loses his train of thought. He's confused. He's listless. Can we really do this for another 4 years? Can he even make it to election day? Heck yeah, he can, baby. Joe Biden is the best the Democrats have to offer, and he represents them perfectly. So he can absolutely make it. We support him as the Democratic nominee. Americans question Biden's ability to lead the country, and the Committee on Oversight's investigating this. Now, apparently, you wrote an assessment in February. You're a doctor, so you put this in writing. You said that President Biden is a healthy, active, robust 81-year-old male who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. Now, recently, it was reported that you have never recommended that Joe take a cognitive test. How come? So the Oversight Committee is concerned that your medical assessments, oh no, might have been influenced by your private business endeavors with the Biden crime family. So the doctor's in on the crimes as well, allegedly. It says recent evidence that was obtained by our committee shows that your and James Biden's involvement in AmeriCorps Health, you guys were stealing money together. James Biden, the president's brother, used funds from AmeriCorps to pay Joe Biden $200,000. See that right there? That's a loan repayment from James Biden over to Joseph Biden, March 1st, 200 grand. Loan repayment. Joe was the vice president. Now, AmeriCorps is a company that operated hospitals currently involved in bankruptcy proceedings, and we're investigating this. While serving as a principal at AmeriCorps, James Biden got payments, 400 grand, 200 grand. These were loans from a company that wired the money directly to him. James Biden also procured $600,000 in loans based upon his last name Biden. He said I could open a bunch of doors, and they sent him another 200 grand. But we did an interview with James Biden. This is Congress. And during the interview, James Biden confirmed that you, doctor, provided him counsel in connection with the work for AmeriCorps. James said the following. Question to James Biden, president's bro, says, what services did you render to AmeriCorps if you weren't getting a salary? Question. Well, I met with, for example, my brother wasn't in office at the time. He was a private citizen, and I'd gone through as vice president, his personal physician, Colonel Kevin O'Connor. And Kevin O'Connor, there was and there still is an outcry for a solution for PTSD. And one component in terms of filling these hospitals, I thought, that if we followed the same protocols the VA does with PTSD and alcoholism, there's a backlog at the VA, so he introduced me to a team. He, Kevin. Yes, Kevin O'Connor. I remember we had our first lunch was in Alexandria, Virginia. So these guys were like, oh, great, perfect. So we just take a bunch of Americans, we throw them in our military, we send them to foreign wars that nobody knows why we fight. They come back all messed up with PTSD. We throw them in a dysfunctional VA, and then James Biden is just going to come and grift off of all of them. So he's going to say, I know, how about we just create a government-funded facility to treat all the PTSD people, and we'll just shove them in our facilities and we'll build a government for it. So public reporting also indicates that you joined a meeting with Jim Biden and the president of a hospital, along with Hunter. Wow. So this guy says that he showed up up with Hunter and James. According to the Washington Post, 3 of your former colleagues in the White House medical unit said that Biden's debate performance suggested to them that he should undergo cognitive screening. 3 of your former colleagues. Now, after his disastrous debate performance, calls grew from medical professionals to undergo a test. But apparently, all of them were overridden by you, doctor. You continue to insist that Joe does not need testing. Now, the president is unwilling or unable to provide insight himself. In a recent interview with ABC News, Biden responded to a question about taking a cognitive test by saying, "I take a cognitive test every single day." Said, "I've already done it." Now, you've repeatedly refused most interview requests, doctor, and the committee now turns to you to provide answers about your independence because of mixed and confused messaging coming from the White House. So he said, "I've already done it." Did he take a test or not? Can he do his job or no? Amid reports that Biden has, quote, lost all independence at the White House, Karine deflected when asked whether Biden was examined by a doctor. Question to Karine was this: "Hey, Karine, after the debate, did the President Joe get examined by a doctor, or did he get a neurological scan?" What? A neurological scan? Look, what I can say is that, just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night, and the president has spoken to this, and he understands that. And so I cannot speak to anything beyond what I just shared. The president has regular annual physicals that we release through a report. We're going to continue to do that, and I don't have anything else beyond that. So was the last time he was seen by a doctor then in February? I just don't have anything beyond that, beyond the question of a neurological exam. And says, look, this is why the president goes through, medical examinations, right? And we release those medical examinations, right? We've done that the past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that. This is why we're going to go out there and continue to do interviews and talk to the American people. And Karine says at the end of the day, they got to be careful, right? Because we're in the campaign season, but the American people will see for themselves, right? And I just want to be super, super careful. So on July 3rd then, just a few days ago, Karine was asked again whether Biden had been examined. She stated that she spoke with you and that the doctor and the president has not been evaluated since February, right? Here's the question that we heard her speak earlier. Said, Karine, has the president had any medical exams since his last annual physical in February? And we were able to talk to, said Karine, to his doctor about that, and that is a no. So he hasn't had any kind of medical exam? Answer, no. Well, wrong. On a phone call with Democrat governors later that day, Biden told the governors that he was, quote, checked out by a doctor and everything was fine. The statements by the White House and the press secretary are obviously inconsistent because she's a liar. Given your connections with the Biden family, doctor, the committee now would like some clarity. And to understand the extent of your involvement, we request that you produce all of your conversations and communications about AmeriCorps and James Biden, and specifically make yourself available for a transcribed interview. If you have any questions about this, contact my team. We are, of course, our Congress. We have a lot of power here, so let us know when you want to meet. Sincerely, your friends, James Comer, Chairman on the Oversight and Accountability Committee. Over to the White House doctor, who obviously is on the Biden team payroll, who is just part of the same entourage. He does a little test, does a little eye exam. You're good, brain's functional, you're perfectly fine. Get out of here, you spry old man. And that's the end of it. So we know that the lie and the cover-up continues. And what's so strange about this is we know Joe Biden's capacity is shot. They know that we know it. And now I think they're just putting us through a humiliation ritual. I really don't know what else to call this, because they're both of them, Kirby and Karine, are now calling him out for big boy press conferences, which is just a strange thing for them to do. It's almost like they're intentionally humiliating him, and by proxy us, because he's our president. But big boy anything is not good for Joe, because we've already heard from Jill's, you answered every question, Joe. You ate all the carrots on your plate. Great job. Oh gosh. And so now he's going to come out and do a big boy press conference. It's 2 of them. Listen to this. I don't know how else to explain this. Maybe you have a better answer.
After that, the president will hold a press conference, I guess a big boy press conference, we're calling it, and take some questions from y'all.
This week, President Biden will speak to national leaders of AFL-CIO, host the NATO summit to show the unprecedented strength of our alliance, hold a press conference, a big boy press conference, according to Justin Sink from Bloomberg.
According to Justin Sink from Bloomberg, is that the person who was humiliating Joe? So Bloomberg humiliates him and says maybe he'll have a big boy press conference, like he'll pull up his friggin' Pampers out there and come out and show up. So then they both come out and humiliate him with that because he's like a child. And that is who's in charge of our country. Amazing. So we're going to continue to cover it, my friends. Thank you so much for subscribing and joining us as we do. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for sharing our channel with a friend or family member so that they can join us as we go through this madness together. There will be a lot more to unpack. We're grateful to have you here, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one.